Hi, this is Dan from onlinebasscourses.com. Hope you're doing well. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to play Thinking of You by Sister Sledge, played by Bernard Edwards. Really, really great tune. We've got an intro. Bernard Edwards comes straight in with this amazing guitar line. And then after 8 bars, we have the string line that comes in. Then we have 4 bars. And then we've got this quite random little bass moment, which is like a sort of a hammer-on slide from F to G, 1st fret, 3rd fret to E, back to the F, and then 2 E flats on the 1st fret of the D string. I always thought it was really random. It sort of comes from nowhere. We've got another 4 bars, and then we've got the main verse groove. It goes a bit like this. So very slowly I'm starting on the G, the 3rd fret, the E string. Lots of octaves, so that octave pattern, if you're on the 3rd fret of the E string, playing that with your 1st finger, 2 across, 2 down, play that octave with your little finger. You can use your 3rd finger, either way, just keep that wrist nice and straight. Using your little finger makes it slightly easier. Then in terms of plucking, use your index for the E string and your middle for the D string. The longer finger just can reach the octave a bit easier. That's the rhythm. And that octave pattern is going to be played in many different places. So remember that 2 and 2 across pattern. So we slide into the 5th fret of the A string. That's the rhythm. Burn, da, ba, da, ba. Now, one thing as I'm going, Bernard Edwards just plays with such precision in his lines. That rhythm there is a dotted 8th note with a 16th note. So you've got to be really, really precise in the placement, especially of the note on the octave. So get your metronome out. It's at 101 beats per minute. I mean, before you do any of this, don't use a metronome, but you've really got to be thinking. On every beat, you've got the 16th notes. And you've got to feel that subdivision with every part of your body. And that's how you get that real groove there, is to play, you know, any note you play with direct precision. So we move just 1 fret up, 6th fret of the A string, that's E flat. Then we're going B flat on the E string, 1st finger. So now I spent a really long time, maybe about 2.5 hours, just listening to this to get exactly what he's doing. I've played this song for years, like, you know, maybe nearly 20 years, and I've never really listened to it just to get all these. I was playing it like that, or I mean, there's no real problem with that, but it's not how it is on the original. So I really wanted to get it as close as I possibly can, and I can hear him doing E, and then hammer on to the 1st fret of the E string, the F. That E doesn't belong to the scale. More of that later. So it's kind of a weird choice, but I think he uses that just to get around a bit easy. So that's what I'm hearing there. So you pluck the E, hammer onto the F, do the octave, and then G to F. So all of what I've just shown you is what I would say once around the riff. It's 2 bars. So that's once round. You do that 4 times, and on the 4th time, you've got that. So we go to the E flat, 6th fret of the A string, but this time play that with your 2nd finger, octave with your little finger, and that's 5, 6, 7, 8 on the D string, just chromatically up from the G. And we've got a slightly different version of that line there. And again, I'm really convinced of this. I was there with my space button on Spotify, just listening 20 times, 30 times just to that bit, just pausing it just after, and I was hearing an E. So we got an E followed by a hammer on the 6th fret E string, then the octave, that's the B flat. Then immediately after that, fret lower to the A. And then there's that sort of semi-ghost note open string to the G, which is immediately back to the second time round the verse riff. Okay, so the second time round the verse riff, it does it 3 times, and on the 4th time it does the little section going into the chorus. So I'll play it all. This is the second half of the verse. So once, twice. This is where it changes. So slowly I'll do the last time where it goes to the new section. So we're on the B flat there as normal, then another B flat, and then upper semitone to the B, again to the C, and there's that E again, and that gives you time to shift your hand quickly down to the 3rd fret of the E string, the G. So that's the E followed by the G octaves, down a semitone to the F sharp, another E to F with an octave, so sorry. Another E, so that's E and then G octaves, and a little shift up to the 5th fret to A, hold that B flat and then a little slide, and another one of those little hammer-on things from to G and then back to F. Now we're in the chorus. So I'll play the chorus and then I'll explain it. Now, as you can hear, I'm not playing to a click or the track or anything like that, so I'm really trying to sort of hear the beat and the subdivisions in my head. And as I'm going, I'm just trying to play with as much control as possible, meaning I'm playing quite aggressively with the plucking hand as Bernard Edwards did, but it was in no way, I don't know, it's not a heavy touch. He can fly around the necks. It's quite a muscular tone that he's getting there from that. Keeping not all the notes, I mean, yeah, they're all quite short. So it's 2 E flats and then 2 ghost notes, which I'm doing on the A string, because the next note I'm going to play is the F on the 1st fret, the E string. So 2 E flats, and then using all the fingers down here just to deaden the strings. They're completely dead, no harmonics or anything, which sometimes you can get if you use just one finger. Then there's that F before you do 2 B flats, 1st fret of the A string. That's the chorus with little bits in between. F, G, F, G, F. But those notes are short. He either does a little slide from the 3rd fret to the 1st fret, the G to the F, or he plucks them quite short. And then, same as the first time, and then, and that's just a lovely little line. F, G, B flat, G, F. That's the chorus, and it just goes around that. The second time at the end, it goes that little section from the verse. And then we're back in. You've then got the verse again, exactly the same as I showed you before. You've got the chorus and then a breakdown, and then that 16-bar intro before he goes into the outro, which is just the chorus. You've just got to play it really precise and lock into that. More on that in a second. But in this outro, he just goes round and round that, and he just does one thing that the first time I heard it, it blew my mind, and I smile every time I hear it. It's so simple. He just does the same thing, and the whole bass line is just a hook. It's just him playing the same thing over and over again. A hook is a little melody within a song. you can have hooks on every instrument, and Bernard Edwards was the master at that. You know, everyone's ear is on that and they're expecting it, and he goes suddenly, he just does that up the octave, and it's just genius. It really is. So that's just 3rd fret, 5th fret of the D string, F G, B flat on the G string, and that's it really. So I just want to quickly move on to a few little points here. So the verse riff is in G natural minor, and the chorus riff goes to the relative major. So very quickly I'll explain that. That's G natural minor. The key signature is B flat, E flat, which means that all the notes in there are just normal notes until you hit a B flat or E flat. G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G. If you go to the 3rd note of that scale and start the same notes from there, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, you get B flat major. G natural minor, B flat major, they contain the same notes, they're relative to each other, they're called relative keys. Songs do this lots. They start in one or the other and they go to the relative, minor or major. Not all the time, but it happens a lot, and it happens in this song. So if you learn your scales, you can see the notes, you can visualize where they are. Also, you need to know the sound of that as you're going. And the verse riff goes from the 1st note to the 5th note to the 6th note. You know, 5th note, just count up 5 from the 1st note. The 5th note. Here's the 6th. That's the 3rd. So I can see where I'm expected to go. You know, I'm quite a visual person, so I'm looking at that visually, and I know, of course, I do octaves on that. So if you want to make up a bass line, looking at the notes, I know what it's going to sound like. I'm just using patterns like Bernard would have done, keeping it punchy, and I know the notes within the scale. Okay, so it really helps. When you go to the chorus, it's a 4-1 progression, so you start on the 4th note. Guitarist or keyboard player, they'd be playing an E flat chord, major, then you go B flat, down here. If you're playing this live, you wouldn't do what I just did there, which is fills. What Bernard does is perfect, and that's what you probably should do. But, you know, this is just an exercise in how you might embellish and improvise, you know, your own ideas. So if you're playing this to the original and you get to the end bit, all I was doing there was just G minor pentatonic / B flat major pentatonic fills. They're both the same notes, really, and they fit. So you use that end bit as a little way that you can create fills around that. Although if you're doing it live, I would recommend that you play it as is. So 101 beats per minute. What I would do is just make sure you have the bass line under your fingers. Don't worry about getting it up to speed, as this is the process you should use for anything, really. Just get your head around it, get your fingers really used to where you're going, then start to introduce a metronome, some kind of timekeeping source. You can have it on every beat, and then you can have it on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bernard Edwards playing, and any great bass player you hear, a lot of it is about timing. And I want you to subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to do a lot more of these things. So I'm going to break down bass lines and talk to you about, you know, some of the tonalities, harmonies, scales that are going on. What you'll find in great bass playing is that there's a blend of an amazing tone from instruments and gear, really great scales being used, lovely patterns, the entire neck, fretboard knowledge, and groove and feel and flair. It's never just one thing, it's a combination of things, and I do a lot of that on my channel, so subscribe if you want any more of that kind of action. If you've got any comments, leave them in the box below. Otherwise, I hope to see you on the next video.